Happy Sunday, boys.
Happy Sunday.
How are you today?
Oh, I'm good. I'm doing well. Yeah.
You're doing
Thanks,
well?
Magellan. Yeah, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well, man.
Yeah, a little rainy outside, which is good.
It is
in the
rainy.
desert.
It's raining in the desert. That is so weird. Doesn't
Yeah.
normally do that. We have a special guest. I think we always have a special guest.
Yes.
Should we stop calling them special, or should we
Well,
always call them? Does it make you feel good if we call you a special guest?
Oh,
or-
absolutely.
absolutely. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Michael Mucker, and mountain biker since 1989.
OG.
And I actually founded a mountain bike advocacy club in Pennsylvania, back in 1999. I was president for the first 16 years. You know, did things like form relationships with land managers and got us the ability to build hundreds of miles of trails, maintain trails. We grew from a club in an area that's probably quarter of the population of Tucson, and we got 300 members. And
Nice.
Oh, wow.
And then we ended up falling in love with Tucson and coming out here. SDMB, Sonoran Desert Mountain Bicyclists, found out about my experience, and I knew a lot of the guys from Tucson here, like Hank Rowe and Rudy Nadler and Jerry Cosnell, that have been here forever. And
Right.
they said, get involved with SDMB. So now I'm on the board there, and, you know, I'm a certified crew leader for trail building and trail maintenance, and I do the Thirsty Thursdays, the fundraisers at craft breweries for SDMB.
Okay.
And, yeah.
I've seen those advertised. We haven't been one. Who is the president right now of SDMB?
Kirk Astroff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kirk is. Okay. I think he may be on our list of people to contact. Maybe you can help us make an introduction there.
Absolutely. Kurt's a good dude.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd be a good guest here.
Oh, perfect, man.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to hit us with your dad joke?
Yeah,
there, brother?
dad joke of the day. Here we go. So this comes in from Cheetah, who has been on the podcast, and one
Cheetah.
of the listeners here. Cheetah, shout out.
Yep.
All right. My dog ate a bunch of Scrabble pieces, so I took her to the vet. I called the vet and asked if anything came out. And you know what he said?
What do you say?
He said, "No word yet."
Boo. I don't know why we do those.
I don't know, but
I really don't know why we do these. I guess we should stop. We say that a lot. We say that we should stop a lot, and we never do. All right, Mr. Dr. Mucker.
Yeah.
We always
Mike.
ask
Or Mike.
or Mike. We always ask our guests if we have a
nickname.
If you have a nickname. You told us a little bit. You said one that I like, but is there one that you'd like to share with our guests?
Maybe Dr. Makalukovich or Dr. Chekai.
Dr. Chekai or Makalukovich.
Yeah.
So Dr. Mucker, when you would meet new patients, how would you introduce yourself then? Dr. Muckaluk or
Mike.
That was it? Just call me Mike?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
What'd you bring today, buddy? What do you got down there?
I brought LaCroix and the Four Peaks again.
Four
Had a couple
Peaks.
more. Yeah, I was hoping you had some PBR.
We definitely have PBRs.
Okay,
in
maybe
there for
later.
you.
All
Yeah,
right,
there you go. You're perfect.
Yeah, it's not quite beer 30 for me, guys.
Yeah, no, he
You know,
told us. I asked him.
it's
He
still
said-
the coffee time of day.
Yeah, we made him a cup of coffee. Not up to standard though. I will tell you. I only had like grocery store organic coffee, and he's like telling me about all of his
your coffee
his
guy.
fancy coffees, and I'm like,
Really?
I failed
like,
you, bro.
Like, what do you do? French press or?
You know, we actually do a drip, but it's a really good drip maker because it's just nice when you want to make more than, you know, we want to make 4 cups, 2 for each of us.
Yep.
But, you know, we get some really good beans and grind the beans fresh every day, the whole bean, and, you know, find blends that we like from different parts of the world.
Yeah, labor of love then.
Yeah.
Yes, each
Yeah.
cup.
Hey, so how'd you get into cycling? Like, tell us the story of how you started.
Well, cycling technically, I got a road bike. When I was in optometry school in Philadelphia, some of the guys got road bikes like 1981, 82. So I ended up getting a road bike back then, and it was like a Raleigh super record that probably weighs more than a downhill bike does now, you know, and rode that around town. And back in 1989, one of my patients came in and said, "Hey, Doc, did you ever try mountain biking?"
You're like, what's that?
I said, "No, tell me about it." So he told me about it. So I left the office and went and bought a mountain bike.
That day.
And
that was probably like right at the beginning of the sport, right? It was just getting going at that time?
Well, kind of in the East. I mean, back here, if you look at the history of mountain biking in Crested Butte and in Marin County and all that, you know, you'd be looking into the late 70s, right?
Oh, was it that late? I thought it was late 70s.
I think it was in the 70s in California it started, but the West Coast was on it a little bit sooner than the East Coast.
Right on.
But it really started to take off in the 80s. You know, and we had a Cannondale factory right 30 minutes down the road from us. So that's when
in Pennsylvania.
Bedford, Pennsylvania is where Cannondale made their bicycles. I mean, from scratch.
Are they still there?
No. What had happened is they were one of the most innovative companies in cycling for a long time. You know, their lefty fork, people didn't like the looks of it, but it was
performed amazingly.
Lateral stiffness was wonderful. Their bikes were super lightweight. They were always ahead of the curve. But at one time, they decided they were going to try motorized things. They were going to do a motorcycle and an ATV.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And the problem was, instead of sourcing out an engine from whoever, they decided they're going to make their own engine from scratch. So in 1 year, their bicycle division won $2 million, and they lost $25 million in the motorized. They went bankrupt. So they end up getting bought out, the original people, by the people who have GT. You know
okay, that whole conglomerate. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it took them a while to kind of get back into the swing of things. But the Bedford factory, I'm telling you, these guys were some of the best welders in the world. I mean, they were really good. And they end up quit making the frames there. They sourced it out to China. Then they did the lefties and the lefty service in Bedford. Then they switched that to Connecticut. So the Bedford factory
just shut down.
Shut down. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. One of the, and I can't remember the company there, but there is a company that I work with at Raytheon that does the carbon fiber for the left. Actually, I think they actually manufacture the lefty for Cannondale, and they're up in Salt Lake City. And for the life of me, maybe I'll remember it later on in the podcast, but I cannot remember the name of the company that does it. But they do defense stuff as well, so that's why I get a chance to work with them. So that's interesting.
Nice.
No, they were cool. They were a great company. And because when I got into mountain biking, I got into it enthusiastically, you know, and eventually forming the club and everything else. And the regional Cannondale rep wanted to make sure that I always had
the latest and greatest stuff.
The latest, greatest stuff. I was kind of an influencer as far as what people purchased. So they do things like I had a frame that broke, and they replaced it. I didn't like the color, and rep says, "Just take the frame down. We'll repaint it while you wait." Wow. So I hand them the frame
right at the factory in Bedford.
At the factory in Bedford, I give them my frame while they're repainting the frame whatever color I wanted. They were giving me a tour. You got to see the big bike they made for Shaquille O'Neal, and
that's very cool.
And an hour and a half, they had me my frame. Take it back to the bike shop in Johnstown, Pennsylvania.
So you left work one day after one of your patients said, "Hey, do you know about mountain biking?" So then, what did you pick up, and then where did you go from there?
Well, what I did is it was a Schwinn High Sierra is what it was called, and back then it was chrome moly lugged.
Yep.
It was basically kind of a road frame with mountain bike tires.
We talked about this. Yep.
So I have three brothers that are a lot younger than me. They're anywhere from 15 and a half to 19 years younger than me, even same parents, but younger brothers.
I got one of those brothers.
Yeah.
Go on with, hey, watch the mic. Just make sure you're talking into it. When you turn your head like that, our listeners will struggle. That's perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Well, maybe they're better off not hearing everything I say. You don't know. But anyway, my brother says, "Hey, my teacher mountain bikes. You should go mountain biking with my teacher, Doug." So I went out with them, and they just kicked my butt. I mean, I was just
because you were a roadie at the time.
Well, I had the road bike, although I was doing more basketball, tennis, volleyball, running,
ball sports.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the mountain biking it was East Coast rugged stuff, and fully rigid bikes,
lots of roots.
That's fully rigid.
Well, back in 1989, they didn't come up with a suspension. Yeah. So these guys, after riding with them, they convinced me to buy a Cannondale. So I bought a Cannondale M800, which was a beast of the East.
Yeah,
I have it in my garage if you guys want to see it.
You still have it, huh?
I have it, black with the orange speckles on it, and it was one of the first truly mountain bike geometry frames made because slope top tube, higher bottom bracket.
It already had that.
Wow. And slacked out head tube angle was probably 71 degrees.
65 is what we ride now. So to put it in context.
Yeah. So anyway, I end up getting a Cannondale, and then what ended up happening is every time they came up with something new, I'd go in, and every year I'd just get a new mountain bike. They came up with their first fully suspension bike, and my buddy Doug got his first. And we used to ride they're in the woods, but old railroad grades where they used to pull the railroad ties out, and then you had these ka-thunk, 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 across that.
Yeah.
And we're there with our fully rigid bike about biting our tongues off,
and you're riding like 2.0 tires too, right? 1.9
yeah,
to 2.0.
yeah, and the durometer of the tires was like a milk jug. I mean, they didn't grip anything. So Doug got this, and we couldn't keep up with him, so we had to get a full suspension bike.
Right.
And since then, I had one single speed that I bought for winter, and since then I've been all full suspension since 1992. I think is when I.
Oh, so you've been through the whole like Bobby bikes and the whole
nasty suspension, like old bed springs, that they put in there, and I went through that whole transition. But after riding the full suspension, especially back in the East, it's I don't know what to compare it to around here. It's like maybe riding the chunkier stuff at Robles Pass all the time,
right?
You know what I mean? So the full suspension. We got along.
So you were basically an influencer before that word was even invented.
Yeah.
You're like the OG influencer.
Yep. I kind of was, because I kind of get into things and I get into it enthusiastically, and I just love the sport. So
what was the community of mountain bikers back then?
In Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania. And then was there any, there wasn't social media. So did you know what the West was doing? Like, how did it grow and kind of blossom up from?
Well, the year I started in 1989, Dirt Rag magazine came out. And I don't know, are you guys familiar with Dirt Rag?
I had a lifetime subscription until they went out of business.
And there we go. Well, the Dirt Rag guys were based in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
And the trails right out their door were Heartwood Acres. And because I was from that region, and there was a bike club called PORC, P-O-R-C, Pittsburgh Off-Road Cyclists.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
So we'd do a lot of rides together. We have one that's going to be 20 years running now that we do with Picnic and ride that we do with PORC. Wow. But I'd ride with Maurice Tierney and the Dirt Rag guys, and when Colin Rosengarth would go out and test ride stuff for the magazine, he'd bring a bike out and he and I would go ride. And so it was kind of cool having that community. And I think Dirt Rag was definitely something that helped bring the East Coast mountain bike community together.
It was kind of like this underground, kind of like punk rock vibe. Like,
yes.
Much less flashy than like the other, like MB Action or the other magazines that were around at that time. It was like the punk rock sign of mountain biking. At least that's how I saw it.
Yeah. They were more counterculture. If you can say mountain biking is counterculture in a way, but if you look at mountain bike action, it's kind of slick and glossy and dirt.
I mean,
rag.
they even printed on like more matte paper than it was really cool.
Yeah, and you had neat articles like the old Coot, was there, and they reviewed beer.
Yeah, before that was cool. Like they did it like right from the beginning. I mean, I guess beer's always been cool, but at least since I've been alive.
yeah. But it was a good community, and what was nice too is West Virginia was 2 hours away. And some of the biking we were talking earlier about, the first 24-hour race in the country was in Blackwater Falls at West Virginia, in Canaan, the 24 hours of Canaan. And that was done in 1992. And that preceded all other 24-hour races. Granny Gear Productions did that.
Oh, I remember Granny Gear. They had a bunch. They had 6 or 7 that they put on, I think, at one time.
Yeah, they ended up doing... that one in Blackwater Falls got moved 3 times. It got moved to Timber from... the Davis, West Virginia area, where I told you they used to start the race by your bikes would be on one side of the Blackwater River and the riders were on the other, and it was a mass start. They had to run through the river and grab their bikes, and that's how you started the race. And but yeah, they did Timberline Resort after that. Then it's at Snowshoe, and it's still at Snowshoe. But they did Moab about probably 4 years after the West Virginias when they did the first race in the 24 hours in Moab.
I've done some Granny Gear events. I can't remember which ones I've done, though. And I have to go out in the garage and look at the
they did Tahoe, too.
Posters.
There was one in Tahoe. And
Yeah.
Laird Knight was the guy that originated all that.
There's a lot of great riding in West Virginia, Mike. When Lacey and I lived in Ellicott City, Maryland. Mm-hmm. When we lived there, we would go over into Pennsylvania, take weekend trips, or go to West Virginia and ride. It's pretty amazing on the East Coast there. You can drive like for an hour and go into like 5 different states. It's crazy, like how close to
different than out here.
Yeah, and that's where our first mountain bike trips would be. Is we'd just take 2-3 days and go to West Virginia, rent a pretty cool cabin, let's say in Davis and Thomas, and go out and ride all the Blackwater Falls stuff, go to Spruce Knob, which is the highest point in the state. And, when you're out west here, 4,860 feet doesn't sound high.
It doesn't.
By East Coast standards, that's high, especially when you get to the top of Spruce Knob and you're riding a Huckleberry Trail through 5 miles downhill of nothing but roots and rocks. Wow. You feel like you're up there.
On an older bike.
No suspension at first. And but there's a lot of great ride. West Virginia was way ahead of the curve compared to other eastern states.
So you and Brenda both ride. I mean, has she ridden for a long time as well?
We met in 1995, and she was when we started date, she said about getting into cycling. So, she was thinking rails, what we call rails to trails bike. I guess comfort bikes out here. Rails to trails aren't big out west, but in the east, there are you can ride from Pittsburgh to Washington, D.C. on converted railroad beds. It is pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
We rode a lot of those out there too.
And there's not much elevation. It's like riding a loop. You know what I mean? Yeah. But instead of riding on a river, you're riding where the old railroad tracks used to be.
Yeah.
But I said, no, you don't want that. You want a mountain bike. So we
you hooked her early then.
Yeah. We ended up getting a hardtail. Took her on her first ride. Grabbed a big handful of front brake. Went over on a long downhill, broke 2 ribs.
Oh no!
And she just kind of sucked it up and didn't stop her. She just kept riding, and she's a really good mountain biker, but just doesn't give herself enough credit for how good she really is. She is,
That's awesome.
Yeah, because I remember bringing the Tucson guys. The rocky uphill section on the Arizona Trail that goes to the overlook up by the saddle of the ranch.
Yeah, I know.
And there's that
well.
one part there used to be a barbed wire bench you used to have to open up.
Yep.
And, some of the guys here, they're getting off their bikes pushing. And Brenda says, hey, on your right. And she cleans the whole section, by him. And it was like, so.
I still can't clean that section. I got to go out in session it sometimes because I still can't clean it.
Yeah. So, no, we're both into it. She works 4 days a week. We ride all of her days off. And then she also has a bike locker at TMC that she has a road bike. So she'll ride the loop,
cool.
After work, which is very cool that they do that.
Very cool.
Really cool. Yeah, I went out. I actually didn't tell you this yet, but I picked up a new bike for Megan.
Oh, nice.
My wife.
Nice.
Yeah, it's another Liv.
Sweet.
This is a smaller. So now we can ride as a family.
Awesome.
And I took me and my boys out, and there's something special about riding with a family, taking off like that. But I'm looking for a new bike. We've been talking about this for a while. Mm-hmm. So did Brenda, then she upgraded from a hardtail to a full suspension?
Yeah, it wasn't long before that she got, it was probably a Cannondale Jekyll back there.
Yeah.
We had the Cannondale connection, and we went through the Jekylls, and, there were Super Vs and Ravens, which were their carbon fiber ones, and Super Vs and Rushes, and, the whole gamut. But we got into the full suspension, which still makes the most sense to me, especially since full suspension has come around so much that, if you know what you're doing, if you know how to set up your suspension, it should feel like a hardtail when you pedal until you hit something chunky.
Oh, really?
And then it's going to suck it up. And I, as light as you can make them now, I personally, I don't want my body beat up. I mean, I like to ride some miles sometimes. And, there's no reason to, get done and feel like somebody beat you with a stick.
Do you do any gravel riding at all?
No, and I think gravel riding is great. Anything on a bicycle, I think, is cool.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but a lot of the roads in Pennsylvania are just so chunky and choppy. I'd rather ride them with a full suspension bike. I'm not going to take a glorified road bike with no suspension and drop bars and just wider tires and say, I'm going to ride these dirt roads that are tougher than a single track out your door. I mean,
we've talked about this before in this podcast, but I think those gravel bikes are basically just like mountain bikes from the early 1990s. Like they just with drop bars, right? I mean, they have basically the same geometry and the same width of tires, and
they're my 1989 Schwinn Sierra with drop bars.
That's it.
But don't get me wrong, they're lighter and they have disc brakes, and you can get electronic shifting, and you get all the goodies,
all the bells and whistles that go with it. So you guys go back and forth between Pennsylvania and Tucson, right?
Actually, we're Arizona residents. We go back to Pennsylvania like 2.5 months now.
Okay.
Brenda has a leave of absence in the summertime. My family's back there. My parents they're going to be 89 in in 87 coming up here at the beginning of the year. And I got my 3 brothers. The whole mountain bike club that I helped form, I'm still involved with them when I go back. And
what's the name of that group?
it's called LHORBA.
LHORBA. I figured that's one.
Yeah, it's Laurel Highlands On and Off-Road Bicycling Association. So we were kind of the first mountain bike association in the region. And I started the club because we had trail closures all of a sudden. And I got hold of IMBA at the time and, back in 1998, 99 and said, hey, what do I do? And they said, well, a bunch of individual mountain bikers, you can't do anything. You need an advocacy group. You need to form a club. So I gathered everybody in the whole region, and I really got into that. I mean, it was a very time-consuming thing. I made contacts with 8 land managers in the region. Because Pennsylvania is a little different than here. You have state forests, state parks, regional parks. Everyone has their own land manager. Everybody has their own rules on which you can, where bikes are allowed, or what the trail access is all about and how you can build trails. So I developed relationships with 8 different land managers back there, individually meeting with them and getting them psyched about mountain biking. So we actually had access to state parks in Pennsylvania that a lot of other regions in Pennsylvania didn't have.
Oh, that's
because
cool.
of our work.
Relationships are key, right?
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
So what was it like back then on the trails? Were people just pirating like hiking paths and trails and then taking bikes on them, or do they create trails?
Well, you had a couple of things happening in our region. There were trails at state forest you were allowed to ride. And there were trails, there was some trails on water company land that really wasn't like a designated ride area, but they allowed you to ride there. Equestrians would make trails, and you'd follow equestrian trails.
Sure.
Deer would make trails, and you'd follow a deer trail through the woods. I mean,
Yep.
And there were state parks you were allowed some access, but it wasn't until we got involved with the club in 1999 we started doing maintenance events at Blue Knob State Park, and we do them to this day. And because of that, we were able to build, several miles of new trail at Blue Knob, and have access to trails that I would say mountain bikers wouldn't have if we didn't put sweat equity into it.
Do they ride all year round out there? Do they ride in the winter too on fat bikes? Or?
Yeah. And I used to ride in the winter, and before fat bikes, I used to ride in the winter. But it's one of those things that when the snow would get, so deep, you could ride your bike, and then when it got deeper, I'd throw in cross country skis.
Do that.
And, I got into too. There's winters I'd ski 60 to 80 times in the winter.
Oh, wow.
I had lights. I'd go after work every day when we got good snow.
Oh, wow.
So spring would come and guys were out of shape on their bikes, and I wasn't from cross country skiing.
That is a workout.
All winter. And then if it was really deep and crusty, then I had snowshoes. And back then, frankly, there was a lot more snow.
I grew up in Detroit, and it's the same thing. Like when I was a kid, there's a lot more snow than there is today.
Yeah, and I love the area of Pennsylvania we're from, but you get a lot of like 30 to 40 degree rain.
Oh, yeah.
Cloudy, muddy.
Yeah, that's not as fun.
You can't do anything outdoors. No. I mean, when I was in practice, people would come in, and it'd be winter. You know what's supposed to do in winter? It's supposed to snow. The ground's supposed to get frozen. If the ground's frozen, you can bike, you can cross country, you can do anything.
Yeah.
When it rains, it's warm, it's
in the middle.
And, patients come in and say, oh, I say, what about that rain? I say, oh, well, at least it isn't snow. At least it's not snowing. And I'm thinking, why? So they can go to the mall easier? I told Brenda, I said, one of these days, I'm going to punch one of these guys in the nose and just move to Arizona.
And you did it.
So here's what Arizona. I did. You guys here can look at me and tell I've never punched anybody in the nose. But I did move to Arizona.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes your physiology and anatomy allows you to be nothing more than I ain't fighting anybody anytime soon.
So why Arizona?
Well,
do you really have to ask that?
I mean, yeah we know.
well, it is kind of an interesting story that we started to do mountain bike trips out west. There was a group of the people from the club I formed,
right?
And in 2001, our first trip was Moab and Durango. Cool. So in 2001,
that was your first trip out west.
Yeah,
that's a badass. That's a badass trip.
Yeah, we did, and Moab, I just was blown away by. Yeah. And what I'd do, would go out with the whole group and do one ride. And then I said, well, I'm going to do a second ride in the afternoon. We're here. So the first day, half the group would do the second ride. The next day, after the first ride, I had 2 guys join me. By the third day, 1 did. By the last day, I rode by myself the second ride. But I just dug it. And Durango. So we started to decide to say, let's go to different places. So the year after, we went to Asheville, North Carolina. And Asheville, very cool town, very cool vibe. It rained every other day there. And I had this leather terry saddle that never dried. It was like a sponge the whole trip there. We'd lay our bike clothes out, and it never dried because it's rainy and humid. So we said, that's enough for the East Coast trip.
But that's a big, I mean, that's a big mountain biking destination.
It is.
There's a lot of great trails there.
But, you got to accept.
Yeah, be okay with the wet.
The weather.
Be okay with the wet.
Yeah. And again, it was gorgeous, and the town's come a long way. But then we went to Sedona the next year. Okay. Yeah. And while we're in Sedona, my buddy Howard Bernstein, who actually was a native of Tucson, he moved to Johnstown, Pennsylvania, to run a family business. His wife went there to go to Pitt Law School, and she's now a judge for the county.
Okay.
And they invited a group of their friends from Tucson to come to Sedona. And they never had ridden in Flagstaff. Well, I was to Flagstaff once, and I have like this trail memory that I don't use GPSs or anything.
This is the opposite of me.
Yeah, there you go.
So the guys from Tucson wanted to see Flagstaff for the first time, so guess who showed it to them? A guy from Pennsylvania. So these were all fit triathlon guys, and I took them up and down all the mountains.
And you're a punk rock mountain biker.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, we got to know them. We ended up going to Sedona the next year again. Right. There was no more. The East Coast stuff was just weekend stuff. So one of the guys, Scott Smith, that lives here in town, he says, Mike, you travel all over. Come to Tucson. He says, my fiance and I are staying in her apartment. You can stay at my house. So we did, and we came out, and we really loved the area. And you got to realize that's 2005. That's no Sweetwater, no Robles Pass, no Arizona Trail, no Honeybee, no Ridgeline Wild Burro, and we still loved it. Okay, some of our favorite rides did not exist here in 2005.
Yeah, I'm going back because we rode back at that time too. I'm just going back through like what was Star Pass was there, Fantasy was there,
Chiva Falls,
we rode Chiva a lot.
Fantasy, yeah, and there
we'd go down and ride Elephant Head.
Yep,
we'd go down and ride. Oh man, south of here. Oh, it's kind of towards Patagonia. I can't remember the name of the. There's like a plane that crashed out there. Where the hell did we ride down there?
Well, I know the Butterfly Trail on Mount Lemon had a plane crash on it because we rode the Butterfly back then on Lemon.
Wow.
If you want to call it riding.
Yeah, that's probably a lot of walking.
Well, what it was is there was a fire like a year or two before, and there were like 100 to 200 trees down on the trail. And back then you didn't have the internet access that people were giving trail reports at all time. So Cosmic Ray said, ride the Butterfly Trail. And
someone sent me a picture last night of his book.
Yeah. I have his book if you ever want to see it.
I have one too. Yeah. Someone was like, they found it in their house. It was an old mountain bike book that Cosmic Ray.
Yeah.
Is all of Arizona, I think.
Yeah. And it's like this, I don't know. It's like a comic book with handwritten mountain bike trails. It's really not a great guide. I mean, frankly,
but it's what you had back then.
For what we had, it was great.
And yeah, we found our way, and that's how I found the Flagstaff stuff.
I've hiked the Butterfly Trail, and I've heard the lore of the plane that went down. So, is there really a plane out there? Like, have people seen it?
Yeah, I have photos of it somewhere from 2005 or 2006 of that plane.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember the trail. Kentucky Camp is the one.
Kentucky Camp.
Used to ride down south. Yeah.
Nice. I didn't know all these trails out here that you take me on, Josh, are kind of fairly new. Yeah.
Yeah.
Out here, Vail and
yeah.
Yeah,
and trails do pop up. I mean, Fantasy Island is on state trust land, and I shouldn't say that. The city of Tucson acquired a lot of that land for recreation, so Fantasy Island's not going to go away. People worry that it's going to go away. Well,
yes.
The stuff on the city of Tucson land is always going to be recreation on that land, especially the stuff on the side near Harrison and Irvington.
Right.
Burrow,
Bows, Burrows,
and Lone Cactus.
But we'll probably
all that stuff.
We'll probably eventually lose like the Bunny Trail stuff. Is what I've heard.
You may or may not, and it depends whether you end up getting access from the people who do anything with the land. And and Honeybee is all on state trust land.
Yep.
And it's a big issue in Arizona because we're the only Western state that doesn't have a recreation or a conservation plan for our public lands.
Interesting.
Yeah, because the way it was set up in the Constitution in the early 1900s for Arizona is you have state trust land, and the state trust must sell the land to whoever wants to buy the land for the highest price, and it goes to schools, which is a noble thing that the schools get money. It's a bad thing that you don't have any plan for conservation and recreation with your public lands.
We could change the Constitution, though, right?
That's what you need to do. No, seriously.
Yeah, no, I'm serious.
And it can be changed. And there are trail groups working on a state level to do that are trying to get everybody together to work with. It's a matter of getting cooperative politicians to see the light and seeing, the whole recreation environment, conservation scene is important to them.
Are you part of any groups in Arizona or just back east?
Sonoran Desert Mountain Bicyclists. I'm on the board. I mentioned earlier, I help with their activities. I help with their trail advocacy. I help with the trail building and maintenance. And I'm a member of the Arizona Trail Association. I usually help with their trail days. I usually do crew leading things, since I've been trained by the county how to properly be sure when you're building a trail or maintaining a trail or doing tread work that you're doing it the proper way, because there is a right way and a wrong way.
Wow, that's
are there some resources? I went out and watched on YouTube. IMBA has a number of different, or at least at one point had a number of different kind of trail maintenance and trail building videos out there, and I watched all those. Are there any resources that that our listeners might be able to look at and to help them discern right from wrong?
Yeah, and I would go look at the Arizona Trail Association. They got a number of videos on their site. Now, what I'm not sure is what is accessible by members and what the public can access. But they have a bunch of great videos.
Okay.
And anytime, now with SDMB, when we do a volunteer day, we did one at Sweetwater and Painted Hills and Fantasy Island. And what I did is I took the video from the Arizona Trail Association and sent it out to all the crew leaders and the volunteers. Say, hey, watch this 5-minute video.
It's the brushing one.
It's the brushing one.
Yeah. Lacey, you sent that to Lacey too. And
yeah.
And we watched it. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's also similar ones that are about trail building. On that site too, and trail tread work, but it's preferable whether you have somebody that has really done it before people start chopping away at trails, because I've seen some pretty lousy work on trails.
Some of that was probably done by me.
No,
I'm working on it though. I'm learning.
I kind of know who's doing it.
Oh, you know who's doing it? Okay, it's not me.
This is an interesting topic because a couple reasons. One is there must be a science to it, okay? And two is you can't make it so easy, right, where it's not fun. There's some technicality to it and picking your lines. So when you guys are out there trail building, like what goes into that process?
Well, I think there's several things. Number one, you're going to have different levels of trail depending on where you're at. Okay. If you have trails in Honeybee, you're not going to find, it's not like you're going to haul rocks in and make technical trails. If you're at Star Pass or Robles, it's not like you're going to start digging rocks out of the ground to make it beginner.
Right. So you work with the land that you're at.
Okay. So you work with the land that you're at. You work with the topography. You want to work with you got to look at water all the time. And people who aren't from around here don't think about
water.
Monsoon.
Yeah.
Monsoon rains. Mm-hmm. And what monsoon rains can do to trails. So if you don't plan ahead and if you don't plan that trail, you have to outslope all your trails, meaning that when you build them, you build a 5 to 8% outslope and people ride the top end of it. You end up with 3 to 5%, but you always have some slopes the water can drain off the outslope, and then the top edge of the trail bottom you want to match. You want to make sure and put something called nicks that are kind of lower areas of the trail with a drain off of it so that the water is channeled off the trail. But a well-made nick shouldn't be like somebody's trying to lay water pipe or sewer pipe in the middle of a trail,
which we've seen quite a lot recently.
Yeah. Well, when the microphone's on, I can tell you about that, but because I know where that's coming from and I can't do much about it. But anyway, but no, a well-made nick. What Mark Flint told me, who's Mark, you can't give him enough credit to him. I mean, he's done amazing.
Who is this? I don't know who this is.
Mark Flint is the one that laid out the trails at Sweetwater, the Arizona Trail. He laid out the Black Canyon Trail. He laid out the stuff at Robles Pass.
So he works for Pima County then? Because
he did. He retired from Pima County. He still has his own trail business, but Mark said, hey, if you'll know a good nick, if you can blindfold yourself and walk through the nick and not trip and not know you're walking, because it should be a subtle thing. Nick should go 6 to 12 feet on the length of the trail, gradually down, and not these big severe, areas. So yeah, there's a science to it, and there's an art to it, and it's just a matter of, it's like when you first build a trail, you build a trail 2 to 3 feet wide, and people say, "Oh my God, what are you doing? This looks like an ATV track." But what happens is trails grow in.
Do they? And
you're going to end up growing. That's going to grow into your 1
single track,
2 foot perfect single track ribbon. And even trails that are like at Mackenzie Ranch, Mark helped lay that out too, and Neil Stitzer and Evan Pillinger with the county now, and are doing an exceptional work with the county. Those two guys, by the way, and cool. That was done with the Sweco and the Mini X. Yeah, that was all done by machinery. Then we hand finished it all. SDMB got involved, again, volunteers. You hand finish it, and people complain, "Why is this so wide?" And then about 6 months later, they're complaining, "Man, this is so narrow. Everything's growing in, and I'm getting all scratched up. Why is this so narrow?" So people have to see the big picture and trust the people who really know what they're doing. And we are really fortunate to have the people of Pima County. I got to tell you.
Very cool.
So what's the story of Mackenzie? So when they first put it out there, I was kind of under the impression, or at least the word on the street was, there was going to be a significant number of races out there. And I don't think I've seen anything but like the Dirty Bunny is the only thing I know of. I heard the locals got involved out there, and they were kind of fighting back against that. What do you know there?
I think the locals had a little misperception on what it was going to do traffic wise, and and everything else noise wise, and they didn't realize it was a pretty mellow vibe with the mountain bikers.
Yeah.
And we did have SDMB did have the Mackenzie Frenzy.
Oh, that's
a couple
right.
years in a row.
Okay. Yep.
And we're not going to do that.
Was like pre-COVID, right? It was,
yeah. And that may be revisited again. It's just that we're not going to do it right away. Right now, you want to get the 24 hop in, and and then the high school teams, use the course up there too.
Okay.
And I can tell you, the Hohokam Trail that connects,
it's so fun.
Mackenzie, is just a really nice trail.
It's so fun.
Is it?
Yeah.
I just rode it. I rode just the Hohokam up to Mackenzie and then back down. It's a great little kind of hour and a half.
Yeah, it's a great ride from your house here up.
If you leave from here, I have not accomplished that yet. I haven't attempted that yet. It's a 40-mile ride.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I haven't figured out a way to do it in less than 40. But I also haven't worked real hard to figure out how to make it.
And you're on the road for a good part, right? Because after you go under the 3 bridges, you got to go up that road for 3 or 4 miles.
No, what you do is you cross over. You go under 3 bridges. You cross the road as if you want to go into Seneca Creek.
Yeah.
And what you do then is there's a trail. There's a gate that goes through that is an access to the Arizona Trail there, and then you have to cross over Marsh Station Road. And there's a gas line you follow, and the gas line will take you to Agua Verde Road. Oh. And you can do all dirt to Agua Verde Road, make a left, and in 4/10 of a mile, you're at Hohokam. Once you do everything at Mackenzie and Hohokam, you make a right on Agua Verde in a half a mile. Then you're on East Marsh Station Road, which is dirt that parallels Marsh Station Road. And there's a gas line road connection to the Arizona Trail that's 1.7 miles from the lookout at the ranch. So you can do it as a loop. You go out the one gas line sign. Yeah. You go around the other side and then climb up there.
Oh, that's super interesting.
Dr. Muckaluck knows his trails. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Speaking
good
of
trail
trails,
memory.
So I got in during COVID, mountain biking. Josh got me in. Love it. But I read the benefits of people laying out the trails, having these out there, right? So a lot of our listeners are from all over, basically. So if someone wants to kind of like get a trail system and get the community going for mountain biking, any advice on how that would kind of, happen and start?
Well, number one, you want to try to find a pre-existing mountain bike advocacy organization. Okay. Like, let's say there's something on Mount Lemmon, you want to go Torca, because Torca are the folks that do a great job on Mount Lemmon. SDMB, Sonoran Desert Mountain Bicyclists, which I'm on the board, we're more the Pima County stuff. We've helped build the trails, like I told you, Sweetwater, Robles, Star, Mackenzie. We're kind of the group that works with Pima County to do that. Mm-hmm. So the best thing to do is not reinvent the wheel.
Okay.
Most areas anymore have a mountain bike organization that you can get involved in, and you can say, hey, I want to help with trail building. I want to help with trail maintenance. I really like this. I want to lead rides. I want to do whatever. And you can easily get involved. Believe me, we're always looking for volunteers. And I know Torque is always looking for volunteers on the work they do on Mount Lemmon. So, yeah, that's the best thing.
Okay.
Is to find, I mean, the days where I had to form my own mountain bike club in Pennsylvania, you don't have to do that as often unless there's really an area in need that doesn't have a lot of trail access and doesn't have a pre-existing club. And then when you do that, you want to talk to people who kind of know what they're doing. I mean, when we started to come to Tucson in 2005, I found about SDMB because they invited me on their very first ride from Pistol Hill on the Arizona Trail. So I used them as a resource for the club in Pennsylvania. You know, we had to do, a new mission statement, or we had to do things like that. Call up and say, hey, guys.
Do you guys have one of these?
Yeah. Do you have these?
Can I steal?
Yeah. Let me take this and just cross out Arizona and put Pennsylvania, and then I'm not reinventing the wheel. So, and worked at SDMB's been around since 1998, and LHORBA's been around since 1999. So we've had about the same.
You guys are about the same age.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great that we don't have to go find our own groups. I think you can probably go into your local bike shop, your LBS, or get on Facebook groups and just ask around and say like, hey, where are the local advocacy groups, man? And they'll get you hooked up.
Then if you want to ride, it's a different story. Around here, there are just so many cool ride groups that are fun to be with. RMTB rides that Dave Slagle runs, and Bobby Harris has the MTB Addicts, and then there's the Old Pueblo MTV. Gary Goodwin has that going on, and Samba is around, and individual bike shops have rides. Dave, I remember Damian Alexander.
Yep.
Damian will put an email out with the ride list, and he'd have all these rides listed.
Does he still put that out?
Periodically, I saw a new one out.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's times he'd put that crazy thing out. There's like 120 rides on it. I mean, it's nuts. Wow. So that's the thing. Everybody can serve their own function. The guys from RMTB are more or less social group. Let's take a ride. Let's have a beer. Mm-hmm. But yet, when there's a trail day, their guys will come out and help us with trail work.
Cool.
SDMB will sponsor rides and do rides, but that's not our main thing because we have Old Pueblo, we have RMTB, we have the Addicts to be able to do that.
Yeah. So whether you're Pennsylvania, Tucson, like you guys met groups out here, it's a collaborative effort.
Yeah. And what's different in Pennsylvania is we're kind of the all everything group out there. There's no RMTB rides,
Okay.
The LHORBA is everything. That's your group to do advocacy. We've branched out into road riding, rails to trails, mountain biking, kind of everything cycling we take care of out there. We don't have the luxury of having all these other social ride groups. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So I got to ask you, as far as the bike setup, what's your go-to nowadays? Like, it sounds like you're more cross country trail.
I mean, I have two bikes that I use, and depending on where I'm going, I have an Ibis Ripley, which is 130 in front and 120 in back. Okay. 66.5 degree head tube angle. Yep. I think it's a great bike for anything at Star Pass, anything chunky around.
So you like chunky?
Well, not necessarily. It's just that when I'm riding the chunky, that's the capable bike to do it.
Yep.
I mean, I ride the stuff around here, which is pretty mellow, and I have an Ibis XE, which is their.
I don't know that bike.
It's a 120 in front, 100 back. It's a 23-pound fully suspended bike with the frame made in America. It's made in Santa Cruz, California.
Interesting.
And I actually went
DW Link as well.
Yeah,
it's all of Ibis's are Dave Wego,
and it's amazingly capable because if you do hit like the chunky sections on the Arizona Trail, that actually just eats it up. But taking, I can tell you that riding a 23-pound mountain bike compared to a 26 or 27,
it makes that much of a difference. Noticeable.
Oh, absolutely. Wow. You know, it's a big difference.
It does depend on the size of the rider, though. Lacey and I had this argument because Lacey's probably roughly your size, I would say. Yeah. And she's always arguing with me about what a pound or 2 pounds makes on her bike. And I'm just looking at myself like, not so much.
Yeah. Yeah. And it depends. I've kind of gone in the opposite direction as the mountain bike industry. The bike that I replaced the XE with was a Yeti SB 5.5. It was a 160 by 140 bike. Ooh, wow. And I found that there was too much overlap. My Ripley tended to do everything that the Yeti would do, but lighter and a little bit more, kind of flickable, and I could toss it around a little better. Mm-hmm. And, you get to a point that if you're riding basically cross-country trails and you're not shuttling Mount Lemmon, that you don't need a 65-degree head tube angle. It does. In fact, it doesn't make sense because when you're climbing, the front end's going to kind of dance around on you, and the bike's going to be longer, so switchbacks are harder to do. Okay. The bike's heavier, so it's not as manageable on some cross-country trails. So I actually enjoy more what I have now, having the XC with less travel, and it's just like a 67-degree head tube angle, which is still, again, very capable.
Plenty.
Very capable. So I have always, some of the guys like myself that have been riding for, and yourself have been riding for a long time, and Lacey, like I see this tendency that they like to be, I'll just say underbiked. They prefer to like have a little less, a little less slack, a little less suspension, a little more. I don't know. I think it just takes us back to like when we're all riding hardtails at the beginning of it.
Yeah, and again, suspension's great if you need it. If you're riding trails where you can really tell the difference, that extra suspension. And again, if you're going to go and go to the top of the mountain and come down Aspen Draw and come down Bugs and Incinerator and Green Mountain. Yeah, have at it. Have all that suspension you want.
But you don't ride that stuff these days that much.
No, I don't do as much of the real technical stuff. It's more like self-preservation, for me.
Ride today
and
walk tomorrow.
And I think I think the chunk at places like, you can go to Robles if you really want some chunk. Go do Boulder Belt and Flight Path and 360 Vista.
Those are chunky trails, for sure.
You can do that if you want, but it's great to me that you have variety.
Yeah,
it's great that in this region, if you're a beginner and you want mellow and you want smooth and you don't really want to be technical, that's good. If you want medium technical and just and to me, Star Pass and that stuff is more like medium tech. There's nothing there that I say, oh my God,
I can't ride that.
Yeah. And then if you really want challenged, go to Mount Lemon, and do some shuttle rides off of Mount Lemon, but just make sure you have your skills, or you want to push, really. And if you want that challenge, it's great that you have that for everybody.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you can speak on your wife's behalf, but so she started out, back when there was probably maybe 4 other female riders
in the entire United States.
Yes, right. So what's her perspective starting as an OG rider in mountain biking to today?
Yeah, you know what? I wanted her to actually come here today, and she didn't.
Well, maybe next time. Maybe
we need it. We'll have Lacey come in and we'll do like a. Well, we've done a couple already. We actually issue 11 is a women's. Or episode 11.
Listeners love having the women now.
They like the women. We've got the one we're going to publish next week is we've got Virginia who V for Vendetta. Mm-hmm. So Virginia will be on, and then we actually just are working with a podcast in England. Yeah, called Girls on Wheels, and we're going to do a collaborative podcast between us and them, and just to try to help get Brenda that perspective.
But when she started, we did find some other female riders in the area. And we're still friends with a lot of them and still ride with them. And you would get the stereotypes from the guys back then, would go to, there's a place called Rattling Creek that had this just really incredible rocky 26-mile loop would do. And I show up today, Brenda gets out of the car, and we were with a new group that my buddy Darius brought, and they look, and I said, oh man, you could tell they're going, there's a girl on the ride. And she went out and kicked their ass, and it was great. She did.
Right on.
Yeah, they were.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, and our friend MJ used to race the 24-hour races in snowshoe, and she used to have faster times than Sue Haywood, who was supposed to go to the Olympics. Yeah.
Wow.
She'd have faster times than the guys. The other friend of ours that comes out here to visit Tammy, she used to do the solo 100-mile races. So these women, they defy the stereotypes, and I'm glad they do, because it's the rider. It isn't has anything to do with the sex of the rider. Yeah. It's the rider, and there's a lot of really great female mountain bikers out there.
Yeah,
and it'd be great to just say there's a lot of great mountain bikers. You didn't even have to say female or male, and I think that's better when we get to that point. You don't even have to differentiate.
Yep. Agree.
You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. But that can make it, though, that I think from the perspective of the female rider, a little bit insecurity that even though you're good, okay, you're catching vibes from people that because you're a woman, maybe you're not, and then that makes you feel maybe you're not as good.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean?
I'm sure. Not
when we had Lacey and Ashley on, they talked about this, and I deal with this on my job as well. There's this phenomenon between men and women. And what we find is that if a man looks at a job, a requisition, and he's like, "Hey, I've got like 3 of the 10 required skills.
I'm good.
I'm like a lock for this job. I'm totally going to apply." And a female will look at it and say, "There's 2 of these skills, 2 of these 10 that I don't have. I'm not going to apply." It's like a different perspective. And they actually talked about that phenomenon. Lacey and Ashley did in our episode 11. They said, "Hey, just go out and ride, man. Like it's okay.
Yep.
Right? Just get out. You don't have to have all 10 skills, right? You you'll grow into it, man. It's good."
Yeah. And I think we're all hopefully have all grown up now and in the mountain bike, culture that everybody recognizes that these women are just as every bit as good as we are on bikes and
just ride. I've been on my wife's back wheel since we've been married. So
yeah. And I could put Brenda in front. She just never wants to be, but I'd be fine following her. She keeps a great pace and can ride all the trails in town.
Yeah, I can't even see Lacey though. I mean, she's not anymore. She's on another plane.
Yeah, that's great.
What are your thoughts on the e-bikes? I watched Jeff Kendall Weed, who we follow on Instagram, if you know that name. He mentioned the Ibis. I think it's a Ritmo. There must be an electronic version. They
just came out with their first e-bike. Yeah,
they call it the Golden Retriever of bikes. And I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, maybe we could talk about something less controversial, like immigration or abortion or something like that, instead of
politics,
instead of e-bikes. I mean, I'm just going to say that I think, okay, from SDMB's perspective, let me say what we do is we respect the land manager's policy. Mm-hmm. In Pima County, every place that I mentioned, there are no e-bikes. Okay, so if you're at Sweetwater, Star, Robles, mm-hmm. Mackenzie, e-bikes are not allowed. Mm-hmm. People tend not to follow that.
Okay.
Which I have a problem with just because I'd like to ride wilderness. I'd like to go on the Arizona Trail and head up the Quota Trail, but I don't do it because I'm not allowed.
Right.
I don't ride my bike where I'm not permitted. So if you're going to own a motorized bicycle, I think you need to respect the laws and say, hey, this is great. I can ride all the state trust trails. I can ride Fantasy Island.
Yep.
Here's where I'm allowed to ride. Mm-hmm. And, I think that the idea of the e-bike for people who have physical issues, age issues, let's say somebody has multiple sclerosis and they run out of energy, it's nice to have that power. Yep. So I think that when you have that, it can be a good thing. Mm-hmm. Where it becomes a problem is people who just want to keep up with friends. They just want it.
I was going to ask you, like me trying to keep up with Lacey. That's not a good reason.
Well, and you know what? If that's the reason you want to use, I'll respect the reason, but I feel that you need to stay on trails that you're technically allowed to use. That's all. And me personally, I think that I would only consider it if there's a medical reason. I'd only ride it if I would, where I am allowed to do it. I'm not going to be that guy who doesn't follow the rules of land management.
So since we covered this, are you Democrat or Republican? I'm just kidding. I don't even want to know. Ibis Oso. That's what it is? That's their e-bike.
I can't name one e-bike because I don't.
You don't have one.
Yeah. I just take those pages out of my mountain bike magazine. So
nice.
It's just one of those things that everybody has their own philosophy. We can respect each other's opinions. Mm-hmm. I believe that a mountain bike is a 100% human powered thing. And one of the reasons that it can be a problem that people think that you're just being elitist on bikes or whatever because you don't want an e-bike, you don't realize that the guys like me who have been fighting for access had to sit down with equestrians and hikers and convince them that we have a mechanized vehicle we're riding, not a motorized vehicle. Because where we got in trouble with wilderness and not allowed in wilderness is one word. They put mechanized instead of motorized. Okay, they meant to put motorized, I think was the intent. They put mechanized, which didn't include mountain bikes. So now you have to convince these people that you're going to be a good trail citizen, that you're not doing any more impact on the trail that they are, that you're doing all that, and you do not have a motor. Okay? Mm-hmm. So we can use terms like pedal assist, right?
Okay, yep.
But there's a motor there. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you that equestrians and hikers know there's a motor there.
Okay.
They're not as gullible as mountain bikers. If there's a motor, they know there's a motor. And when they've done polls like on the Arizona Trail, the vast majority do not want e-bikes on the trails. And I don't think that they're trying to have the people who have medical problems and deprive them of an outdoor experience. That's not what it's all about.
They just don't want motors out there tearing up the trails.
Well, and some of these, have throttle assist. And it's hard to look at an e-bike and say, this one has throttle assist and this is pedal assist. Mm-hmm. This one can go 30 miles an hour, and weighs more than 50 pounds. And this one doesn't. And this has more than 750 watts, and this one does. So you can't always stay within that, and you can't patrol it that way. So, somebody wants to ride their e-bike, I think, God bless you, ride it, but ride it where you're allowed to ride it. That's my in a nutshell. And again, I'm not speaking on SDMB. We just support. If at Fantasy Island,
follow the laws, follow the rules.
The city of Tucson says you're allowed to have e-bikes. Fine.
Yeah.
Bring your e-bike.
Know the rules, follow the rules.
Pima County says you're not. Well, we have to respect them.
It goes back to where you started with the whole association, right? Yeah. You had trail closures, you mentioned, and you fought for that. And so your perspective is very interesting on that.
Yeah. And you just don't want to sound like the old coot from Dirt Rag. I'm getting there, but
we should. Do you want to start writing it? We'll start Dirt Rag back up, and you can write the old coot article for us.
Yeah.
Well, hey man, this has been super enjoyable for us to have you here and enjoying talking to you. Is there anything you'd like to close with to say to our listeners that might be interested in?
Not really. I just think that one of the best things I ever did in my life is buying a mountain bike. Mm-hmm. And it's not just the sport of pedaling a mountain bike. It's a mountain bike community. It's guys like you. It's the guys we run into every day. It's the guys you go out and have a beer with at the local craft breweries. It's, there's a camaraderie there. There's something about the sport. It's about being in nature. It's about appreciating nature. Mm-hmm. I never run earbuds because I want to hear that hawk. I want to hear and I do want to hear the rattlesnake too. So I'm just grateful to be part of that community, and I'm just happy if I can contribute something to it. Yeah. With the advocacy and the trail work and the things we do to promote the sport.
Well, I'll tell you what. On behalf of all the mountain bikers in Arizona and Pennsylvania, thank you very much, brother, for everything you've done to help us with good trails and trail access and trail maintenance and advocacy and all that. Really, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you very much for the work that you put into it.
And I can honestly say it's my pleasure.
Nice. Right on, man.
Yeah.
It's good talking to you, brother.